Okay, picture this. You take all the raw power and intensity of boxing, but you pull it out of the gym and throw it right onto the beautiful beaches of Rio de Janeiro. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, that's the whole idea behind this revolutionary new sport. So today, we're gonna dive deep and give you the complete guide to beachboxing.
So where did this whole thing even start? Well, it all began on the iconic shores of Rio's Barra region. And the vision? It belongs to one man, Coach Mosier Lima. He just had this belief that, boxing was way too powerful to be stuck inside a gym. He wanted to use the natural elements to build something more dynamic, a training ground that was open to absolutely everyone, from total beginners to seasoned pros.
But look, this is way more than just a pretty background for your workout. The big central claim here is that fighting on sand is twice as hard as fighting in a normal ring. Yeah, twice. So what's the science behind that? What's actually happening to your body that literally doubles the amount of effort you have to put in? Well, the answer is all in the science of the sand itself. So let's break down the physics that make this soft, beautiful surface such a brutal opponent. Okay, so this whole thing really breaks down into two key factors. First up, you've got energy absorption. Think about it. The sand is basically stealing the kinetic energy right out of your movements. It's like a sponge. So every pivot, every push forward, it takes double the effort just to get the same result you'd get on a solid floor. And then there's surface instability. Because the sand is always shifting, your body has to make constant little micro adjustments. It fires up all these tiny stabilizing muscles you probably didn't even know existed, all just to keep you from falling over.
So the bottom line is pretty wild. Before a single punch is even thrown, just the act of being barefoot on the sand has already doubled the physical demand on your body. I mean, that is a huge jump in intensity right from the get-go.
But the sand is just the foundation. It's just the start. Beachboxing's rules are also specifically engineered to crank up that intensity even more. So let's take a look at how the fight itself is just fundamentally different.
Okay, this is actually a brilliant bit of fight engineering. They call it spatial compression. See, the beachboxing ring is a lot smaller than a standard one, and that is not a random decision. It's totally deliberate. By reducing the space, you basically take away a fighter's ability to dance around and evade. And what's the result? Less distance means way more combat intensity. There is literally nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Yeah, this chart really puts it all into perspective. Just look at the differences here. You're going from a predictable indoor canvas to, chaotic outdoor sand. The rounds, they're chopped in half to a blistering 90 seconds. You don't have the stability of boxing boots, and like we just said, the ring itself is smaller. But here's something interesting. The gloves are actually bigger, and that's a really important safety measure to protect the fighters in such a high-intensity fight. And those 90-second rounds we just mentioned, they are absolutely key. They create this thing called sprint pacing. I mean, think about traditional boxing. You might have some slower rounds, kind of feeling out your opponent. Nope, not here. There is absolutely no time for that. From the first bell to the last, it is just a constant, all-out sprint. Okay, so we get the science, we get the rules of the fight. But how do you actually train for this? Let's break down what a typical 60-minute session looks like and see how these athletes are literally forged in the sand. So every session is built on this really logical three-part structure. First, you start with functional conditioning, basically just getting your body used to moving and staying stable on that tricky sand. Then you move on to abdominal strengthening. This is all about building that core power you absolutely need to throw a decent punch from an unstable base. And finally, you put it all together with combat application, where you're actually practicing real boxing techniques inside that unique sand ring. And this might be the most important part of all, how accessible it is. This is not some elite, exclusive club for pro fighters only. The training is specifically designed to be scalable. What that means is a first-day beginner can be training right next to an active professional fighter, and they're both pushing their own limits in the very same class. That's awesome. All right, we've talked about the sand, we've talked about the rules, and we've talked about the training. Now it is time to put it all together. Let's look at the final intensity formula and the absolutely incredible result that it produces. This is really how it all stacks up. You start with that base layer, the 2x effort just from being on the sand. Then you add the constant pressure from that smaller ring. And then you layer on top of that the insane sprint pacing from those 90-second rounds. So each of these things doesn't just add to the difficulty, it actually multiplies it. They all amplify each other. So what's the final result of this crazy formula? What's the payoff?
Well, it's an absolutely unparalleled level of energy burn. A single 1 hour session can burn up to, wait for it, 800 calories. I mean, that is just an incredible workout.
And that number, 800 calories, that's not some accident. It is the direct result of this entire highly engineered system. It's the deliberate mix of sand, space, and time that comes together to create one of the most intense and frankly one of the most efficient workouts on the entire planet.
So when you put it all together, the smart rules, the obvious physical benefits, and let's be honest, that powerful, amazing visual, you've got a sport that really feels like it's ready to explode way beyond the beaches of Rio.
It all started on the sands of Olegario Maciel, but it really leaves us with this big, fascinating question to chew on. By blending the raw power of nature with the smart, intense engineering of combat sports, are we looking at the future of outdoor combat sports?